Hello everyone, this is Daniel and welcome back to another part of this character modeling tutorial series. So let's continue our journey right where we left off. We still haven't quite finished our low poly mesh for the legs, so we shall continue right there. As usual, and I've pretty much emphasized this quite a lot in the last week, you want to continue to begin with the parts that you can be sure of. So I know that this middle loop should continue here to the back. So that's something that I want to start with. So now that you can see what I'm pushing on the keyboard, let's begin and just do some extrusions with E to the back and then just connect it up. In object mode, I'll select, oh, actually it turns out this is one part. So maybe we go into edit mode and quickly separate this part. Because I would like to hide it for a moment. So let's separate it with P, separate, and then in object mode H to hide. And these parts will hide too for a second. So, moving on, I'm just going to use Ctrl R to add a few loops here and there, and our shrink wrap modifier is pretty good at taking care of all the rest, so I don't even have to adjust anything, just all falls into place. And finally, once I have enough loop cuts throughout this section, I can simply select this entire loop with Control click, then Shift click on this, and then Control click on this part. You should get a selection like this. And now we can use our loop tools again to just relax space and relax a couple of times. And that should give you a pretty smooth and nice result. Now we also need to pull this area down a little bit, so what I'm going to do is I'll just extrude it once again with E. We'll turn off snapping with Shift Tab for a moment, because otherwise it would snap all to the front. We don't want that. And yeah, then you just place it in roughly the right position and the snapping will once again take care of the rest. You can also add a cut in the middle so that we can fill this section up and this here. Now it should all be nice and connected. Of course it's still a bit rough, so we'll fix that in a second. But actually let's begin first by just stretching this part down to give it the basic topology that we are looking for. You want to select this border here. Actually, in object mode, very quickly, make a copy of this shrink wrap modifier and apply one of them. That just makes sure that in edit mode these points are all aligned properly. So I extrude this whole ring down now and I scale it down and we set it to 0. And it really looks too, just too bad, so I'm just going to relax it for a while. Maybe we can even go ahead and hit circle and turn this into a circle. And we just need it to be roughly in the right position. Oh, just make sure you don't get this stuck together. You can just disable clipping here for a second, then you should be fine. There we go. Let's make sure it's not twisted any weird way. And we can maybe leave it like this. Maybe let's bring it down to this section here, because here we have a clear circle and we can make sure that our mesh is aligned correctly. There we go. Let's do the same trick one more time. We duplicate this modifier and apply it. Then this is all where it is at the moment. Now we can flatten this and it should have just improved the quality just a bit more. Now I'm just going to use Ctrl R again to add a few loop cuts, and that will give us almost our finished leg. So let's see. So now that we have, the base structure in place, we want to just smooth things a bit out, make things a bit more even. Before I start, I'll duplicate this modifier again and apply it. This might seem a bit annoying, but it really helps. All these sort of smoothing actions, they work better if you just don't have this modifier do too much work. So I'm just applying it for a moment there. Let's just enable this for a moment so that we can see better what's inside. And with the slide relax brush, I'm just holding shift and I'll brush over this so that we can get this topology smoothed out a bit. And here we go. So it's really not too difficult when you think about it, the whole retopology thing. People are often very scared about it and feel like it's a lot of work, but it can be quite a lot of fun if you use the right tools. I personally enjoy it quite a bit, if it's not, you know, not always the same. There we go. That should be enough. So apart from this little inconsistency across the symmetry line, which we'll fix later once we apply the mirror modifier, I would say the rest looks pretty good. And of course here you will have some weird artifacts because the mesh is not symmetrical and we mirror it before we kind of deform it. So that's something we can't really help at the moment. But we could try to just invert them, but I mean, turns out the mesh isn't even symmetrical in the main area, but that's okay. We'll just leave it this way, and maybe afterwards we'll remove this lower part if we need to. Next we need to do these details here, and we haven't really looked at the alignment of these points. So this will be a very interesting challenge and a good lesson for you to learn, because this is something that happens very commonly, that you work on your topology and then at some point you have to match it up to something specific, and it can be difficult. So I'm thinking of having every second polyline somehow merge into this, and you will quickly notice that it doesn't line up correctly, and we can't just push it all around like this because it just distorts too much. So what does that mean? We have too many loops, so we have to get rid of, I believe, 2 loops. And the easiest way to do that is to just select one of these, especially when there's too many. Look for a spot where there's too many, and we're going to delete it there. They are already quite even, but it seems like here in this area, they're is that true? I think. It seems like here are more than we need. Well, we'll even it out anyway, so let's just start here and use X and then edge loops to remove 1 loop. And to just make things smooth again, I'll select all these loops around here, and I'll hit space, and that should just line them up again, or at least even them out. But it kind of shifted the lowest one, so I guess a trick that you can use is to deselect one edge and then use that, then it should be all aligned. You can then fix it by selecting these again and doing it one more time. Now if I'm correct, then this should still be too many loops for what we need here, so let's just quickly check. I hope I didn't do it the wrong way around and we actually needed to add a loop. Did I make that mistake? No, it doesn't seem that way. So actually we still have way too many. We still have 2 more loops that need to go, and I'm not sure if I like that very much, because I don't want to lose the detail. What can we do about that? We could go the other way around and add loops instead, or we could just try to remove more. Well, let's start by trying to remove a few of these loops. So I'm just going in and I'll remove 2 of these loops anywhere, and then we need to figure out how to smooth it out. And really your best friend in that case is going to be the smoothing tool once again, but I'm just a bit concerned about this part because it's a bit more detailed, so I won't touch it at the moment. And I might for a second disable the high poly version so that we can see the low poly better, because I'm still not entirely sure if that was a good decision to go low poly instead of higher. Does that look like it's detailed enough? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm very split between the two choices. I'm not sure which one the better is, but I think this will be fine. We'll go this way, as we are doing it now with 2 loops less, and so that means we need to go in here and just touch over these spots a little bit, just to even them out. So I'm using the spacing feature here to just give them, well, even spacing. Finally, we have 2 more loops in here, and that should fix this issue. Now, we also have some more parts around here, so you can go ahead and select these loops as well. And then once again, with our loop tools, just hit spacing, and it doesn't need to look perfectly right away. We'll use our smooth brush afterwards either way, so don't worry about it too much. Let's just go ahead and select these 2. It seems like there's a little mistake here. Oh no, that's fine. That's just the modifier, it seems. Yeah, if you get something like this, just activate that and it should look fine. And we'll hit space one more time. There we go. Also, don't worry too much about anything here in this section. I mean, that's just because the mirror modifier comes after the snapping, so we'll fix that later as well. So we have now spaced everything mostly correctly. Let's just figure this last spot out. Something like this should be good. Yeah, and then we'll just smooth it again with the tool I showed you before, and make sure it's all nice in every spot. I like to look at these curves in particular and try to really find something that, you know, helps the flow. So sometimes you might want to adjust things a little bit manually and push it away from what the tool would suggest, just to improve the flow in a controlled way. So here I think it would be better to push these a bit more straight. And that gives us something like this here, which looks quite good, so that's good. So next we'll have to go ahead and enable your high poly mesh again, and we will need to do some realignment because this has derailed a little bit here. So let's delete these loops for a second, and we'll just align the lowest loop by itself, and you can see that it ended up sort of going to the wrong direction quite a bit. I just enabled snapping. That will help us a little bit. And while I adjust these, this time around I will actually try to line it up with these edges here, since that will be our next step. So there we go. This one goes here, 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 and here. And if we did it correctly, it should all just line up perfectly and match the number. And yeah, I think that looks good. So now let's just add our final couple of loops here that will help sort of convey the silhouette, which will be these here. I think we should maybe add a bit more because it's a bit of a detailed spot and it would be nice if that showed in the silhouette. So I'm actually going to add quite a few here. And then we'll just relax and space this maybe. No, actually let's not space it, let's just relax it. That should be good enough. So finally, as always, I'll just go and use my brush to smooth this out a little bit. That is never a bad idea. Just be careful not to, to keep these edges roughly in the same spot, just so that we use them effectively. And there we go. So that looks good now. I hope, at least. I'm a bit disappointed that we had to remove these loops because I liked the number that we had before. We had to reduce it quite a bit, but the other choice would have been to just increase it in the other direction, and I felt like it would have been a bit too much, so I think that this was the right decision. Yeah, here are some details that you can work on a bit, but in the end, it should just all look smooth and nice. And there we go. We can also go ahead and just manually raise these up a little bit just to make it not look too bad in the middle, but we should be able to do that with the smoothing tool later as well. Also, let's just scale this along this axis and bring it all back to the center. If you have clipping enabled, yeah, it should all clip together nicely. And now let's take a look at the high-res mesh again. So we now have a few more fine details to take care of, which is these parts here. Let's just start with one of them and see what we can do in first place. Maybe we just go around like this. I'm a bit worried about the shading, about the normal map, but I think if we I think it should be fine. We should maybe... Alright, let's think about this a bit carefully. I don't like it, generally speaking, I don't like to have angles greater than 90 degrees in my low poly mesh, and this gets very close to that number. So I'm not sure if that's a good idea. We can try this again and just see how many points we would need if we just did what I think would be better. And if we did that, we would kind of need 2 points in each section here. And we're once again problem solving here, but it's not impossible to do this. And we might end up using some triangles for that. So maybe we could add another point here just to get this curvature in a bit better. And then let's see. So this would be quads. Here would be triangle. Another triangle. Another triangle. We're getting again some weird material settings, so let's just assign it all to here. And that could be what we do. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Like people say triangles are the worst and avoid them by all chances, and that's true to some extent, but then at the same time you don't have to overdo it. And in fact, I'm going to add another loop here even. If it's very locally, I personally like to add a bit more extra detail, but you don't need to add lots of points here because this is almost a flat area. No matter how many points and vertices you add here, it's still going to be flat no matter what. So I'm just adding enough that the curvature is smooth, and well, you have of course these other areas to think about a little bit, but we might actually go ahead and even remove one more of these loops. If they're not necessary. I mean, I don't know if that was so necessary. I mean, didn't really get in the way, so maybe we'll just leave it. But just saying, in areas like this, having more detail actually makes sense because there is actual detail to be captured. So yeah, I suggest to think about it this way. So I'm just going to copy this section now around. copy it and move it to here. Yeah, that's going to be a lot easier if you first apply duplicate and then apply this modifier. Then we'll also disable it for a moment with this icon here. Then we just move them in place. I mean, roughly is fine as long as they snap to the right place. We'll adjust them later. So yeah, I'm kind of ending up concentrating a lot more than I expected in this part. I mean, I think there was a reason why I stopped at exactly this point a few months ago when I recorded the series, because this part is a bit tricky and I kind of saw it coming, that it wouldn't be all straight away easy. So yeah, being busy at the same time, it just all came together, so I stopped for a moment. But here we are, and yeah, we still need to solve a few of these situations, but I think everything is coming along well so far. So just roughly bring these into the right place. Be sure to where did these come from? Be sure to make very effective use of your keyboard shortcuts. It's going to be very, very handy. I use Shift D to duplicate, R to rotate, G to grab or move, S to scale. Make use of your camera perspective effectively, and then you should very quickly be able to bring this all into the right place. And then let's re-enable our modifier, and if it all snaps roughly to the right position, we can duplicate this and apply it again. Now this is all in the roughly right area. Now it's just about, you know, adjusting. And we can even go ahead and turn off our high poly mesh for a second to just fix just fill in the faces that are missing. We just need to, yeah, it's a bit of an annoying process because we can't really skip any steps here, but just go ahead and select these and fill them in with F. At least you don't have to do it on both sides, one side is enough. So, could be worse. There we go, everything is lining up, and that is great. Finally, let's just fill this in. And here we go. So material settings are bad again, so let's just apply this. Now, finally, just need to add a little bit of an edge to this. We'll re-enable our high poly mesh. And I'll extrude this downwards and maybe scale it down a bit. That should roughly bring it in the right position. But once again, we'll have to just go in here and adjust that. In fact, you know what I'll do? Let's delete this one more time. Instead, I'm going to select this here. I'll use select inner region, deselect this loop, possibly. Then I'll duplicate this entire section and disabling the modifier for a second. With Alt S, you can now deflate it and just move it to here. You have to remember to flip the normals or recalculate the normals later once we've connected that, but that's a pretty easy way of just, yeah, bring it into the right place. And this time filling in the faces that are missing will be very easy. You just start with one face here. Yeah, just make sure it's connected to the right points. And then you just select the next two and hold F until this travels all the way around. I seem to have some something wrong here. Oh, that's just the back point, so we just bring them back here. Yeah, let's just scale this down a little bit because this will sort of end up merging here together anyway. So to just end this part off, I think we can actually leave it like this. The next part is going to likely intersect here. Although, you know what, just in case, let's fill this in. So I'll use F3 and use grid fill. And the only thing I want to make sure here with my settings, like you can use these parameters to adjust, is I want to make it line up with the straight and this line. So yeah, that looks good now. For some reason this is snapping way back. I think it was because I had this these snapping tools enabled, so let's just bring it back here. We should maybe apply our shrink prop modifier. Let's duplicate it and apply it for a second. Yeah, and I think the reason why it doesn't let me put anything here is because the mesh below it is actually doesn't exist there, so we can't really help it at the moment. Let's add another loop here because we have a bit more detail there. Since our mesh isn't very accurately placed at the moment, it looks a bit bad, but we can fix that in a second. Let's keep it rough for now. We'll duplicate this and apply it one more time. I end up doing this a lot, but you know, it's part of the process. And now I'll just go in, and we don't need face sets. Let's just do that from visible. I'll go and smooth these out again. And these will get a bit rough now and lose sort of the silhouette. So let's try not to overdo that too much, just enough so that the topology is, you know, nicer than before. We might have to go in and do some manual adjustments here and there. Yeah, pretty sure we'll have to. But you know, good start maybe. Let's duplicate and apply that one more time, and then we'll take this, hit G twice, move it to one side, G another times, and we'll move it back by 0.5. Hit Alt S maybe to inflate it, and then they should all be in the right position. There we go, finally. Yeah, I mean, otherwise you would have to, you know, and there's another bad point. One thing you can do to check if you have any points, individual points around, just select everything by hovering over the mesh and hitting L, and then you can see here if all your points are selected. Actually, I'm not sure if this is visible by default. I think you might have to right click and hit Scene Statistics. But yeah, if you do that, you can see it and just see if you have all points selected by that. Yeah, now let's just finally apply shrink prop and fix the middle. And I think that's good enough for now. You know, I'm a bit worried that this is going to be a bit too rough still. Like, I want to even things out a little bit. But we might do that in another part. It doesn't have to be now. But I like how our low poly mesh now nicely captures the high poly, and you know, we also, you know, smooth things out a little bit, and this will look very nice in the silhouette. I mean, it still has visible polys, but still, it's way nicer to have this rather than having a 90-degree angle. That would have probably looked quite bad. So I think this was a pretty good decision to go a bit higher with our poly count in this local area, and yeah, we got just a lot of better quality in return for that. Let's just do one last thing. Let's select these and just hit relax a bit. That makes it all a bit nicer. Maybe we can smooth this out as well. There we go. Alright, and that is it for this part. I mean, you know, we'll probably have to fix it a little bit because it's not supposed to be symmetrical, I believe. Yeah, we have this different part, but we'll be able to reuse this section. As you can see, the lower one is quite similar. Just move it down a bit, change the top. So that's going to be what we'll work on in the next part, and we still have a few parts left. So here's where we're at. We're getting quite far with this. You know what we can do quickly? Let me just select this plate on the back, and we'll just give it a different material. I don't know which one it is, I forgot about that. Which is why it's a good idea to use good names when working with on some complicated projects. But yeah, there we go. This just helps us visualize a little bit what we're doing and where we're headed. You could even go ahead and add the belt color to this. You know, it's not a final color by any means, but yeah, helps, as I said, to visualize where we're at. Yeah, this is getting exciting. We have a little bit more to do, but I'm looking forward to having the face done, the fingers, feet, and everything. Should be a very clean character. So far, everything seems good. I wonder if we should maybe add a few more loops here as well at some point and stretch this out a bit. I think that's what we'll do. Actually, we should do it now. I've started to do this already now, so... Do we have the shrink wrap on? No, so we'll have to do that manually. Maybe let me select these, everything up to here. Then I'll go to select loops, rings. Then we have all this selected, and you can just hit space. Maybe relax. Not sure if that's a good idea. But yeah. Like, I just wanted to adjust the density of this region a little bit, and I think we should just bevel this to with percent by 33%. There we go. Yeah, so now it's more even. We don't have so many stretched polys anymore, and if the body bends around, it's going to look nicer on the silhouette and not too, you know, low poly. There we go, there we go. I think that looks very nice. And before I continue with any more work, I'll stop the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.